Do you ever dream of becoming rich? If so, have you ever wondered how you could achieve that dream? If you have, there are a lot of people just like you. People who want to control their own destiny and become rich in the process. Owning or starting a business is the best way to make money in this country. Indeed, the typical millionaire is a self-made entrepreneur, an ordinary person who worked hard to build a business. In this program, U.S. News & World Report will introduce you to 5 people who own their own businesses. Most of them began with little more than an idea. Their stories will show you what it takes to start a business and how to figure out if your idea is a good one. You'll also hear how to find financing, how to face the inevitable obstacles, and how to deal with growth. And you'll see that what makes an entrepreneur isn't something that's in the genes. Mostly, it's a nerve to take a chance and the will to succeed.
Success isn't an accident, but it's not a function of being a firstborn or being left-handed or being the child of entrepreneurs. Anybody, as long as they're tenacious and they believe in themselves, can be a successful entrepreneur.
The first step in starting any business is taking a look at yourself.
When you really meet a successful entrepreneur, you also see someone who's got an extraordinary passion for the business. I've never met anybody whose primary goal was to be rich, who became rich. Entrepreneurs are not in it for the money. Money is a byproduct. Entrepreneurs have a passion for their knowledge, for their business, for their concept. They all want to see something happen, and they work harder than anybody else in the world, and they make it happen.
This is Holdenville, Oklahoma. It's farm country, but it's also home to an enterprise called Handmade Rainbows and Halos, founded more than a decade ago. It's a business that developed out of a childhood passion for making bows. Owner Amelia McCoy explains how it all began.
When I first started my business, because I didn't know it was going to be a business, I actually asked my husband for some money to go buy my first supplies, and he gave me $10. When I left the store, I had spent $7.68. So that is really what started my business.
Amelia's big break came when she got a chance to sell her bows in front of local Walmarts as part of a Christmas promotion.
I started the second day of December. I was booked every day till Christmas Eve. I made bows right through the night. I made them while we drove in the cars. Every day I was standing in front of a Walmart store. I made bows while the customers shopped. I would run back and buy ribbons, fashion bows while they shopped in the store. So when this promotion was over, I had cleared $1,700.
Today, Amelia provides work for 300 people and annual sales top $5 million.
In this warehouse that we're in right now, there's probably between 300 and 400,000 finished bows. These are all ready to be sent out, and hopefully will be sent out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I had never had business training in my life. Actually, all my life, I got married when I was 16. I never went on to college. I never had any experience in the world of business. So I really didn't know anything about how to approach anyone to buy my bows. In fact, we live right in the middle of rural Oklahoma, and I didn't know where to buy supplies. I didn't know where to go to sell my bows. So through all of this, I learned that there's a big world out there. There's a lot that I didn't know. One morning, my husband called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and said, "You coming to bed tonight?" And I said, "Yeah, in a little bit." "What time is it?" He said, "It's 5 a.m. I didn't realize it was something I truly loved to do. I come up with most of the designs myself. If I sit down for 20 minutes by myself, we have a new bow. And I have about 5 or 6 women at home that comes up with beautiful ideas. If this woman brings a bow in, that bow is named after her. If her name is Susie, that's the Susie bow. We have them named Casey, We have them named. We just got so many names, and they're the ladies that made the bow.
Hi, Dina.
Hi, Kara. How are you today?
Okay. How many bows did you make today?
Well, about 500.
Well, good. I come in and sign in and hang my bows and then get new supplies for the next 2 weeks and go back home.
We have people everywhere that advise us about new coming colors, styles, items across the whole United States. We do go to markets. I go to many markets myself. I see what the clothes are coming in. If clothes usually are on the shelves out in the store, if the colors are in and we don't have that color, we can have it within a week.
Amelia's learned a lot about business by being in business, and she has a lot to say to people thinking of starting one of their own.
Test the market first and see if it's something the public wants. And if it is, do the best job you can do. And you can't work at it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Once you get into something, it's going to require all your time. If you're not working on it, you're thinking about it. You think of new designs while you're riding along, while you're doing dishes, whatever you're doing. This bow, one night in my dream, when you have a business and you really care about your business, you even dream about it. So I dreamed that I made this bow, and it was a very good selling bow. Actually now, it's one of the highest class bows we have. You can wear this in your hair, you can wear it on a boot, you can wear it on a belt, or like this. I always thought in the whole United States, if something can be done, why can't I do it? If I wasn't doing this, I can think of 20 things I would be doing. First thing I would tell anyone, you must love to do what you're doing. You must know that it's a sellable product. You never quit or you never give up. If you have something you really like, you know it's going to sell, throw your whole self into it. You cannot listen to negative people. Everyone will say it's faddish, can't be done, it isn't done. It can be done. Life is way, way too short to sit around, waste your time, or just daydream. Get out and make those dreams come true.
Over 1 million households in the U.S. have $1 million or more in annual income. You have what seems like a good idea. How do you know it will work?
So having the good idea is just the place you start. And as a matter of fact, sometimes an all right idea, not even a particularly good idea, results in a very successful business. What you need to do first is you have to see whether or not there's a need. Most entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs make a big mistake because they fall in love with their product. And there's an old expression that says, don't confuse the existence of a product with the existence of a market. So you have to go out and you actually have to talk to potential customers, potential buyers. You have to make sure that somebody other than you believes in this thing and wants it.
Newport Beach, California is where a business called the Vessel Assist Association of America had its beginnings. Its owner is David LaMontagne. His business is assisting vessels in distress.
I was raised on Balboa Island, which is behind me here, in a family house of my grandmother's when the island was first developed. And both my mom and dad have always been into boating. My dad was in the Navy. And my mother, she raced sailboats. In fact, she raced in this harbor too. Working on the ferry when I was 16 years old, you can see the ferry behind us there, is where I really came up with the idea. By the time I was 17, I had pushed enough cars off of that ferry to come up with the idea that, gee, there's an auto club for the cars, why isn't there an auto club for boats?
David filed his idea away until he enrolled in an entrepreneur program at college. There, his assignment was to invent a business and create a plan for it. Having to spell everything out in black and white was an excellent way for him to evaluate the market for Vessel Assist. In 1983, David launched his business. The timing was right because soon after, the Coast Guard stopped offering non-emergency assistance to boaters.
The plan I created in school was a plan that was rather grandiose, and it got me an A. But the plan to start in the real world was a very much scaled down plan, a plan that involved buying one boat and me being the captain of that boat and me doing basically everything. As long as I could survive myself and start the business with me and a boat, then I could start it on a lower scale than what was initially in the plan. And I found a few investors, some of them were family, and we put together the initial funding which started up Vessel Assist.
What's its expiration?
These days, David no longer has to do everything himself. He has 25 employees and dispatches 50 boats, covering most of the West Coast and the Gulf Coast of Florida. Vessel Assist does everything from helping people who've run out of gas or need a jump start to fixing engines and towing, and they respond at any time of the day or night in any weather. For a boater, having a vessel towed is expensive. Costs can range up to $150 an hour, an outlay that all boat owners dread. Free towing is one of the services covered by the yearly Vessel Assist membership fee, usually less than $100.
Vessel Triton, this is Vessel Assist Newport, Whiskey Bravo Quebec 3124. Roger, sir, what's your position and how many people do you have on board?
When someone calls in distress, we make contact with the vessel. We'll plot their position and figure out what is the nature of their difficulty. Once we do that, which resource we need to get to them, and then provide them with an ETA and then follow up with our assistance later. Vessel Assist Newport, Vessel Assist Center, WHV 600 on primary, go ahead.
Well, I've only used them one time, and I would estimate that time that I did tow them, if I had to pay retail for that tow, it'd probably be $300 to $500. So I've saved quite a bit of money.
Roger,
I feel
sir,
much more secure having Vessel
He's gonna
Assist.
bring her in and then flip her around.
Today, Vessel Assist has over 20,000 members and revenues in excess of $1.6 million. Continued growth on the East Coast is next on the agenda.
We started Vessel Assist on the Southern California coastline, and the theory there is, again, controlled growth. Pick an area at a time and see that we are successful and that we can control the growth and make sure and provide the best quality service that we can. As long as we can provide the quality service, we will have happy mariners. With happy mariners, we will continue our growth. What makes it successful is really exciting. That's just a fun, comforting feeling to know that it's all started out in here and it's all come out to play and it's working.
David learned that having a good idea was only the beginning.
Starting a business, I didn't really understand it at the time, but it can be one of the hardest things there is to do, period. I didn't really know what that meant at the time. People told me that. I didn't really know what that meant, but now I have a good idea. The dedication it takes, the concentration. You gotta be there, the persistence and things like that. I'm pretty proud of the fact that it's gone well. Sometimes I kind of pinch myself saying, wow, look at this, it's been actually 10 years now. And the business is growing every year. We grow by at least 20%, and that means we'll just do the same thing next year, and wow. It's not the same old thing, and therefore it's an interesting life, and that's exciting for people. In the old days, after the Depression, we were taught to just go to work for corporate America and not take the risk of being out there on your own. Well, I'm here to tell you that in the 90s, the entrepreneur programs around the nation, they teach you, go ahead and follow your dream. And good will result from that.
Each year, more U.S. adults try to start new businesses than are having children or getting married. 1 in 25. Once you know your idea is a good one, where do you find the money to start your business?
The most common place that Americans get money to start their businesses is from themselves. The second most common is from their friends and family. Now, when I say getting money from yourself, that's home equity, that's your savings account, your credit cards, your piggy bank. The next most common, your friends and family. Third most common is what's called trade or supplier credit, where you essentially buy goods that you're going to be selling, but you pay the person who supplies you in a much longer period of time than the customer. So you buy on 60 days, you sell on 30-day terms. And then the next most common, which is very uncommon, is the angel, individuals who can write a check. And then finally, the least common of all, less than 1% of all the starts in the country, venture capital.
PenMac is a personnel service with a crucial difference. Located in a converted bank in Springfield, Missouri, its specialty is training and motivating unskilled laborers in temporary industrial positions. Some of these workers get their first job through PenMac. Many have had previous employment problems or personal difficulties and need extra help finding work. PenMac's owner, Patty Penny, financed her startup in 1988 with $1,700 of her own money and a $16,000 loan. The other ingredient was experience.
I had for years worked in personnel, and I had a strong background in human resource. And I wanted to be my own boss, and I wanted to own my own business. And my husband, he said, why not do the thing that you know best? And that was very good advice.
Patty found that there was a need, that many companies in her area didn't have the resources to hire and train temporary employees themselves. These companies were willing to pay her to do that for them.
I looked into this idea of temporary employees.
Food service technician.
Went around talking to people, I started understanding that they didn't have personnel offices. They didn't have a human resource person around that did interviewing and screening and helped them place people in their jobs. And so basically then what I did was hit the street. I had never sold anything but Girl Scout cookies. And so I had no idea whether I could sell this idea or not. But I just started going indoors and saying who I was and what I was doing, and would they be interested in talking to me, or could I see someone? And I literally went door to door and sold it.
Patty's idea offered so many benefits and programs that her services were hard for companies to refuse.
It is easier on our staff with being limited numbers to hire through PenMac than it is to go out and hire on our own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She's done a lot with the temporary employees where this was a market before. You had a hard time getting anyone who would even get you temporary workers, much less try new things. Like we have a bus program that they started with us.
PenMac arranges transportation to and from job sites. It also provides job training, safety equipment, and even alarm clocks so workers will get up on time.
We try to assist them every way we can to be so they can stay successful on the job. And I don't believe everybody does that. People coming to you and saying, you know, thank you, you helped me get into a good job and I'm so happy there, and that's what makes it all worthwhile to me. And then, of course, money, and I am very motivated by money.
In fact, last year, PenMac generated $25 million in annual revenue.
I would say to the person that's starting out, be very realistic in what you're planning. Get to know your market a little bit. Look at what the actual hard costs are.
Because most new companies have to get money before they can make any, Patty believes that the first step in acquiring startup funding is to figure out expenses by sitting down with a business plan.
This business plan, I mean, any small business administration office can give you one to use as a guide, and put down more than you think your expenses are going to be. Don't cut it too thin so that you're getting an unrealistic view of what, you know, your finances might be. That's just critical in the beginning. Most bankers want your business after you're successful. in the beginning, they're very cautious, and they won't always want to give you what you need. And so you need to keep searching. If you don't get what you need from one, you need to go to the next bank, go to the Small Business Administration, go anywhere where you think you can get the funds that you need to get started.
Another service PenMac provides its clients is issuing paychecks to the people it places. Every week, hundreds of workers drive by the office's payout window, numbers that show PenMac's a success. So successful, they placed 12,000 workers last year.
Thank you, and you have a nice day. Think about what's going to make me different. Well, there are 7 other temporary services in this town, and what makes PenMac different? Well, different is you. It's what you put into it, whether it's a bakery or an auto mechanic shop or whatever. It's what you put into it will make you different and unique.
Women own nearly 1/3 of all small businesses in America. Every business finds the road to success is an obstacle course. What are some strategies for coping?
Entrepreneurs really have to be prepared for ambiguity. They have to be flexible, because in the beginning of any business, in the growth of any business, there are enormous uncertainties. So entrepreneurs have to be prepared for obstacles that are unknown. This is not a linear process. In developing a business, it's not A, then B, then C, then D. It's frequently A and F and D and Q, and you just don't know what's going to happen next. So you have to be flexible. You have to be prepared to work harder than you ever dreamed of working your whole life. You have to be prepared to get rid of plan A, because there's always got to be plan B. I have a friend who's a very successful entrepreneur, and when the whole thing is blowing up, the delivery doesn't come, the machine blows up, the bank calls his loan, he claps his hands and he says, "It's all coming together now." It's an attitudinal issue. You have to be prepared for all of the things that you can't imagine, because they will happen. But if you have passion, and if you have perseverance, and if you know for sure you've got a market, you'll make it.
Fred Reese is the owner of a family frozen food business in Dinuba, California, one that specializes in Mexican cuisine.
I learned everything as far as food from my mother. My mom's an excellent cook.
Thank you.
And she critiques my food. I'd bring some, when we were making some new products, I'd take it to Mom. I'd say, "Mom, taste this, tell me what it needs."
Reese Food Products was started in 1964 by Fred and his father, Louis. Today, the family business includes Fred's daughter, Kim. They employ 1,200 people to make 1 million burritos a day, resulting in annual sales of over $100 million. But Louis and Fred still remember how difficult it was in the beginning.
The first year, just experimental, that our sales were about $65 a day. $100 for an old refrigerator, $100 for a freezer, and a few dollars for cheese and a few pans, and it was it.
Dad was in charge of sales and I was in charge of production. But I made some terrible, terrible food initially because I didn't have any education. I didn't know how to prepare food. I knew what I wanted it to taste like, but we made bean and cheese enchiladas at first, and they were the most god-awful product I ever made. I just felt sorry for my dad because he had to sell it. There was a time there when the phone began to ring on a regular basis, and it was people, wanting to know where their money was, and this has happened on a regular basis, and the sales just weren't coming in, and I'll never forget, I sat down with Dad and I said, "Dad, well, I figure we got about 2 weeks to go, and then we're going to have to close the door because there's just no money coming in, and these people want their money." And so, Dad and I talked a little bit, and he said, "Well," he said to me, "Well, I guess we're going to have to work a little harder."
Reese Foods finally started making a profit when Louis decided to get some crock pots and sell hot tamales in local stores.
I went to Kmart and bought 12 crock pots. I went to liquor stores, and gave him a sample. And I said, well, I can put one of these crock pots on your counter and put the sign. I think this was like on Monday or Tuesday. By Friday, we heard phone calls, we were out and we want more. And that's what just brought us over the hump.
That first success changed everything.
Really what we ended up doing was working smarter. And this is where we decided to expand our product line. At that time we were just making one product, and then we decided to come out with a different product, and that product was very successful.
Early on, getting money was also an obstacle. A number of banks turned the Reeses down, saying their business was too marginal. Fred turned to his personal banker for financial advice and was encouraged to keep trying.
In banking, just like in any other business, you have people that either understand or don't understand, and maybe they're in a good mood or a bad mood, but this is what happens, and it's typical. So with his encouragement, I did go to, actually I think we went to 3 other banks, and we were turned down by all 3 of these banks, but nobody else said that we were a marginal business. They just didn't want to do our kind of a loan, and we eventually did get a loan from a banker who just walked in the street because he heard we were looking for a loan. So anyway, what's the moral is that, you just have to keep working at it. You just can't, just because one person tells you can't do it, go to the next person, keep trying. We have these we call them windows of opportunities. I mean, they open and they close very quickly. When that window opens, you get in there and you have that opportunity to grow your business. And if you don't do that, then it closes, you've lost.
The success of Reese Foods enables them to give back to their employees. An on-site education center gives employees a chance to learn new skills.
Being a Mexican and our employee base here is primarily, Mexican. A lot of them first generation. I think it's important for us to help them become assimilated, to become more American. We try to teach them English. Our employees are part owners of this company. They get stock, owned 50% by the Reese family and 50% by our employees. If I make a mistake, especially with our employees, if I make a mistake, I know, I'll probably be all right. But if I make a mistake, what about some of my employees, where all of a sudden their business declines? They have to go out and find new jobs. There's a lot of responsibility to being the head of a company. You have to make good decisions, and the bigger we get, the more important it is that when we make a decision, we spend a great deal of time thoroughly investigating it, because mistakes can be very, very expensive. Not only just in money, but also in people's lives and the effect on their families.
Fred's daughter Kim will be the next president of Reese Foods. She's learning the ropes from her father and grandfather.
They both have very different perspectives on the business, and so I learned a lot about, maybe getting the best of both of them. My grandfather, starting out in sales, is really true to the quality, and when you make cuttings in front of customers, you never want your product to disappoint you. And so that's something, having been in sales, that I strongly believe in. And then my father, a lot of his values about giving back to the community.
Because I'm concentrating on the tortilla here, Grandma. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a production burrito. You take a nice tortilla, but each step that you take up the staircase brings, it's a different set of problems and different set of obstacles that you have to overcome. And as long as you keep overcoming these obstacles, you will continue to grow. Take your plate, fold it, sides. And that is an authentic, handmade Mexican burrito made by a Mexican.
95% of affluent business owners view hard work as vital to their success. On average, they have worked over 60 hours a week for 37 years. For many entrepreneurs, growing the business is often more difficult than starting it.
Angels are people who have the money to, as individuals, write checks to buy a percentage of a business, to make an equity investment. There are two ways you get money into a business. One is debt, and debt can come in the form of bank credit, or debt can also be supplier credit. That's debt. But then there's equity money. Equity money comes from venture capital or from angels, and what they're doing is they're giving you money in return for a piece of the business. And whether it's a small piece or a large piece will depend upon the risk involved in the business. But it is money that you grow on, because you don't have to pay it back first of all, you don't have to pay it back, period, but second of all, you don't have to pay it back on a schedule the way you would with debt.
This is Discovery Zone, a chain that offers kids fun and fitness. With a fixed price every time a child visits, and 29 million visits last year, it's also a very healthy business. Ron Match originated the business in 1989 in Kansas City.
The whole concept of pay for play was foreign to anyone. It was definitely a new idea. I talked to bankers and investors and all kinds of folks, including two of my partners that I've done other businesses with. And it took some time to convince them that it was something that we should pursue and basically build the first store.
Ron got into this particular line of work in part because he was a father, and he wanted to create something that parents and grandparents could do with their children. He also figured kids were a booming business. As it turned out, he was right. Discovery Zone turned the world of children's entertainment upside down.
The whole concept of the equipment from a fitness perspective was to do something that was fun and self-motivating for the children. You rarely see a child jump into the ball bin without immediately running to the vinyl mountain and trying to climb it. Well, to them it's just fun and it's something that's natural for them to do, and at the same time, from a fitness perspective, it's working on arm strength and upper body strength.
Ron's initial interest was in franchising the business. A successful franchise is easy to duplicate and includes a quality control system to guarantee consistency in different locations. With that in mind, he acquired some partners and raised money for a prototype site.
If it was successful, which we felt strongly that it would be to immediately start franchising the concept. And with franchising, we could attract other individuals' capital and quality frontline management, because it was their money in the facilities, operating the facilities, as a way for us to get some quick national expansion before we started developing corporate stores.
Ultimately, Ron hoped to make Discovery Zone a national company, so he worked hard and from one store grew to 38 franchises. Then he decided to go public and headed to Chicago to look for investors.
So you're going to spend $900 a month on TV?
And everybody had to present their records.
But for us, we really wanted to develop company stores or corporate stores, and we needed capital to do that.
In the end, he got that capital by merging his firm with Flynn Enterprises.
Oh, he hasn't broken it down.
Kevin Flynn explains what attracted him to Discovery Zone.
I think the energy and the creativity that existed at Discovery Zone was very appealing. We could see the rapid growth. We could see the shift in demographics with the children not having anywhere to play that was safe. And it was real exciting.
Discovery Zone is now a public company with 330 fun centers. 1994 revenues topped $125 million, and the company plans further expansion overseas. With the merger, Discovery Zone's offices were moved to Chicago. Ron's role in the company changed when he decided not to make the move.
Oh, that's a good one, Phoebe. Let's put this here. I have a family with very young children. I didn't, at this point in my life, want to move to Chicago and have to commute probably 3 hours of my life every day so that I could participate on a daily basis at our corporate offices downtown. Primarily, though, I still invent new ideas and new concepts on a monthly basis and send those up to our research and development engineering department. Those ideas can be implemented in our stores, again, to keep the stores fresh for the kids. I think the success for me is every time I visit one of our stores and I see the children and the parents and grandparents with smiling faces, that's truly success for me.
Franchising is a great way to become an entrepreneur, assuming, of course, that you buy a good franchise. This is like anything else. You have to be careful that you don't get a pig in the poke. How do you tell a good franchise? By looking at the financial disclosure statements, by looking at the franchise prospectus, and by, most importantly, going to visit franchisees. I mean, it's amazing to me how many people get stung because they never went into one of the stores. They never asked the franchisee, gee, is this a good franchise? Do people like the product? But if you can find a good franchise, it's really an excellent way to become an entrepreneur.
Only 17% of successful business owners have postgraduate degrees. Here is some news you can use.
Savvy would-be entrepreneurs and savvy entrepreneurs get as much help as they can from wherever they can get it. Now, the best places to get help are small business development centers. There are over 1,000 of them in the United States. The United States Small Business Administration and the SCORE program, that stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. You can get help quite frequently from your local Chamber of Commerce or your local Economic Development Council or Economic Development Corporation. You can also go to colleges and universities and see if they have a Small Business Institute program. And also colleges and universities in the business schools very frequently have programs where they help small business people. And then finally, you can get a lot of assistance from accountants, lawyers, and various networks, breakfast clubs, lunch clubs, your Rotary people who will really network with you to get you good information and good advice.
For more information on the organizations and services Dr. Goodman mentioned, you can contact your local Small Business Administration field office. The SBA also offers a toll-free information center that can help you with questions and problems about starting and running a business. Their number is 1-800-8-ASK-SBA. The SBA Online Computer Bulletin Board number is 1-800-697-4636. For the hearing impaired, the SBA TDD number is 202-205-7333.
Very pretty.
I was born and raised.
His mom.
They speak it in England, France, and Germany. It sounds the same in the US and Mexico as it does in Hong Kong and Tokyo. It's the international language of business. And wherever it's spoken, Delta Airlines can put you right in the middle of the conversation. And then we'll bring you back to that place where you don't have to say a word to be understood. Delta Airlines.
Hotel accommodations provided by Little Inn on the Bay.